As I'm working on my game, I routinely make small improvements, like recently I updated the player's sprites and animations to be a bit more narrow. I also take suggestions from the comments or Discord, such as making loot automatically move towards the player rather than forcing them to manually pick everything up off the ground. These small improvements are nice, but the bulk of my time is spent on bigger tasks, and the most recent one has been UI, or the user interface. This includes any menus, buttons, or text that the player might interact with. The pause menu is the prime example of this, but I also implemented a dialogue system, where you can talk to NPCs and read what they have to say. The way this works is by loading in a message that I want to display, but only showing the first portion of that string, up to a certain number of characters. This number increases quickly over time until it reaches the end of the string. I made an open source example of this in the description if you're interested. To test out this dialogue system, I made a shopkeeper, and when I interact with something for sale, I'm given the price and the option to say yes or no for purchasing it. Saying no will just exit the prompt, but if I say yes, the game will check to see if the player's money value is at or above the price, and if we have enough, the money will get updated, and we will now own the item. The first and currently the only item that you can buy is the lantern. Without the lantern, going through dark areas looks like this, where you can't really see anything around you. Technically, you could get through the cave if you knew where you were going, but it's much easier having the lantern where the light radius is substantially bigger. I'm hoping to make this and other shops have lots of options for upgrades and items to buy. Aside from dialogue, I've put a ton of time into the pause menu. None of the graphics for the menu are final, but the layout and functionality are looking pretty good. I showed this items menu in my previous video, but I've been expanding this whole pause menu with more screens. There's now an equipment screen where you're able to switch between any colors you've unlocked, and down at the bottom is a list of any extra tools you may have, such as the lantern. The next screen is the settings menu. This used to be in a separate place where you pressed escape to see these options, but I think it makes sense to just have it here. It'll definitely need to be formatted a bit better though, since I have a lot of upcoming features that I'll want to add to this. And finally, there's the map. Currently this is only functional in the dungeon, but I'll be adding an overworld map as well, since it'll hopefully be somewhat large where a map will be really helpful. I know a UI update like this isn't the most exciting thing to hear about, but it is a necessary part of any good game. Over time I'll be making it look nicer, since right now it's a bit too plain and the pixel outlines are pretty harsh looking. I get a lot of questions and requests about upcoming features that I have planned, and I think it makes sense for me to go ahead and share my roadmap for everything that's getting implemented in the next few months. The dialogue and UI updates are the most recent feature. The next big update will add key binding, controller support, and saving and loading these configuration settings automatically. I got an AI and enemy rework planned, creating a more final overworld layout with player save files. I'm going to attempt to write my own music for this game, and then finally the Steam page and official demo launch. Right now there's a playable version of this game which you can find in the description, but it's more of a prototype than anything else. A full proper demo will be more representative of what the final game will look and feel like. Saving and loading, a more complete overworld, actual tasks to do, and dungeons to explore. That's the short-term goal, and I'm hoping for this to be available by the end of June. Each of these big features tend to take a few weeks to complete, so that gives me a bit of wiggle room in case any issues come up, or if I want to add more before releasing the demo. The other thing worth mentioning is the game title. I've been referring to this game as Legend of Lua, but this has always been intended to be a temporary name. I can't use the word legend because of a certain other game franchise, and Lua is just the name of the programming language I'm using, so I won't be using that part either. It really is going to take me until June to have the official name finalized, but it's going to be really satisfying having everything for this project set up. After the demo launches, most of the updates from then on will simply involve adding content, expanding the overworld, adding new dungeons, bosses, enemies, and items, and start working on setting up the story. Until then, I'll mostly be sticking to my roadmap along with bug fixes and balancing changes along the way. Thank you so much for watching.